When you are capable to vote, there will be 3 areas to choose from, but must only select one in each area. If there's more than one voting option to choose from, these cases will be set up by the justifier's office, and everyone that is selected or considered to be involved in deciding court cases will have the files of the cases in their records, where they will be permanent. For instance, if it was a custody case, to see which parent may receive custody of each child in the relationship, to select which parent to receive the right to care for the children, or the jury may select 50-50 custody as an option per child. Or the jury may have an option for one of the parents to pay no more than 25% or up to $500 of their worked income per child of the children at hand in the relationship that's resolved by the court system. Another option could be no child cost granted for whichever spouse it is decided on. That would be an option if there were 2 children in the relationship, where the government will authorize each person in the relationship one child fund credit given of $500 a month. No one will have to worry or foresee the future with having to pay outrageous child support just because the individual has a lot of money or has a good job. Now in the new world, the divorce settlements is entitled to be settled 50-50 in the relationship if it's equal in earning the same amount of income or money. So if the woman earns 30% of the combined income, she will be entitled to receive 30% of the divorce settlement, or if she had made 100% of the income or money received on average during the time of the relationship, she will get 100% for the divorce settlement of what assets are available at hand in the relationship when it is resolved. This will not be decided by court, but will be figured out by a lawyer's office to sort out the money matters in a relationship of separation where there shouldn't be a problem, because in your records will show all the income earned and dates when you made the money. So it's just a mathematical problem within each person's records. And if there were 3 in a relationship, it would be divided by 33% if all the ones in the relationship worked equally. This will have to be counted out to where the money made by whoever is living in the relationship has fair and just rights. So if he or she made 50% of the earned money in the relationship, he or she would get the amount earned while being together of your joint relationships assets only that are available to claim, like cars, boats, houses, property, jewelry, tools, cash, or whatever the person feels needs to be addressed to their lawyer. If there is a discrepancy within the settlement of the assets the lawyer had prepared and the other party in the relationship does not want to sign off on the divorce separation settlement amount, it then will be decided on by the A-Service Justifiers Department. The lawyer will have to submit the case to the justifier's office and an appointment, or by sending the file data on the individual they're representing to the justifier by a call. The information will be received and the action order will be started at that time to be decided on by the Ace of Spades Justifiers Department for the matter of this sort. The proof of address in the A-Service database system will show when whoever is living in the same household. And all money received to any person through the government, work pension, or through someone granting you part in their estate or money to receive other than the ones that you have lived with will count for the percentage to receive at separation, unless the money assets were depleted because of normal living expenses while living together. It will be of the time together and what they had accumulated for possessions and money during the time of living together as a relationship. It will have to be of a year living together or of a marriage, and there will be no longer be any alimony paid to the opposite partner in a divorce. With high profile or rich people, they won't have to worry about ending a relationship and to be taken to the cleaners because of a greedy partner. What I say is, try and work your relationship out where you had love for in the beginning. I say no one is going to grant you favoritism other than the government to assure that you're taken care of at the bare minimum of what it costs for living within the world. So if your spouse who thinks it's going to be better to separate because of your other significant money at hand, you won't get that riches of your partner for it to hold him or her back in their life. The court system will only allow one choice to select per group of choices to be voted on per case as it is acted on. So if you accidentally selected the wrong one, all you have to do is select the one that you want to go with a second time, and it will automatically change your selection to be the correct one. When you're sure you're on your decision, you can select and submit the button within the file. You should feel privileged that that you were chosen to make the decisions in court because you are part of American justice by the people. When you log into each case, you will automatically get paid after a week-long service you committed to the jury duty. The week-long commitment may take as long as 12 hours a day, but no longer than 12 hours, and overtime will be paid for any day past 6 hours. All the functions for the court cases will be accessible through each person's phone. The rate for each person around the world to perform jury duty will be a standard $30 an hour for any person. When you're randomly called from the computer of ACE Services to appear in court, you must commit to the commitment of showing up and participating as a juror, in the understanding that your opinion will stand whether you agree or you don't agree with the one on trial. There will be 15 people assigned each week to show up for court as court is to be held. The only way to get out of the assigned jury duty is where you can't possibly miss a life-threatening procedure or of a death of a loved one, like parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, grandparents. Excuse for the day of the funeral, and if it's a near friend that had passed, you must put in a request to take off from jury duty for the day of the funeral that can't be rescheduled. A doctor's note will be needed for the individual said situation, or if on the day you are scheduled to appear in as a juror, you become sick, you will have one freebie time given as an okay. But if you miss a second day without a doctor's excuse for jury, you will be put back on top of the selection list for the jury. That is if you don't commit to your assigned days during the trial of the week. So you're able to miss one day with nothing done. More than one day, you will have to show each day missed with the proof of documentation of said sickness will have to be annotated in the individual's medical records to show proof to the acting judge. You can have a note written out by the doctor and have to present it to the judge in order to release your excuse in the system for no other consequences to come to you. You will have 1 week from Friday of the last day of jury for the week to be able to show your excuse, or you will get a weekend in jail that you will have to commit to for your actions you had failed to commit to. If a doctor signs off on why you couldn't make the appointed jury trials, this will be accepted. So if you're sick and you miss more than 1 day, you have to get a doctor's note to bring it to the appointed Ace of Spades office within 1 week of the missed trial duty. Or you can present it to the judge to release you from other commitment. Or have an excuse documented in your medical so the justifier can open it up at the Ace Service office to cover your reasoning of why you missed. If not, you will be ordered to serve 1 weekend in jail or 48 hours. For this fact of interrupting a government trial of business that may cause the legal system or the courts to reschedule cases if people don't show. So yes, I feel if a person wishes to skip out on a commitment to society, they should have consequences to endure. And I feel 2 days on the weekend should justify the discipline to be given. And plus, I want the individual that skips the jury duty to be placed back on top of the jury list for the next selection of candidates. No one should have to do jury duty more than 1 time every 7 years, unless they fail their first commitment. The age for the selection of jury duty will be from the age of 25 to 65 years of age. If you are crippled up and you can't get around appropriately or have a disability where it affects your everyday life, it must be annotated in your medical records, and there will be a yes or no mark in your medical file to allow you to show the system to allow the selection of people who are able to perform jury duty. Also, anyone who submits or places time off on their vacation days on their work calendar in the Ace Services system will not be selected for jury duty during the time that you take off, as long as it is annotated 30 days or more in the system. So I say stand tall and be an American and do your commitment to society if called upon. You will see the order of the cases that is in hand in your file, and you can look at and act on the document of judgment on said court hearing. There will be options that you can look at that can come available and will open up to you after the judge in charge of listing, verifying the evidence is shared to both parties, directing fair legal presentation from both parties to be fair within the law. The judge will go into his or her file when he or she is ready for what will be decided by the jury and select an action button or a tab to select to allow the 13 to 15 members the availability to cast their vote for or against the defendant of whatever said trial at that time. Only the judge of the trial will be able to see all the results of the person's decision on trial. The judge will call the court to session again and read out the 13 votes that he had in his file. As he or she says, juror number 1 vote for 7 years, juror number 2 voted for half a sentence or 3.5 years, and juror number 3 voted for to be set free on the voting ballot in the system, and so on until all 13 votes are accounted for. We will say that after the judge reads out all the votes and they were a tie with the same number of votes, 7-year sentence and 3.5-year sentence. So the judge looks at his phone or the computer screen and reads out the 14th juror vote to come up with the majority vote to choose to close the case. If 2 jury members didn't show to court, there would be only 13 jury members total to make the decision in court. This would have to be a jury trial. This would have been a good jury trial, but will not be decided on for actions to receive if votes don't show one of the 3 sections as a majority. The judge will enact the sentence. What was decided by the court for the crime by set laws with standards, set justice, or prison sentence to abide by within the government. Each case is set up by a service justifiers department ahead of time, so when the party is found guilty, he or she will know what the disciplinary action could or will be. Certain high-profile cases may need a jury. Also, large divorce settlements may need a jury for individual or the individuals will fall into these categories I list. Certain sexual assault cases will have to appear in front of a jury, which will be decided on the justifier's location of where the complaint had come in. And the justifiers will make all decisions on how all complaints will be handled by standardized spreadsheet listing a common actions for whatever offenses are done within the public that are not considered appropriate in society. Cases that fall within the guidelines or similar cases will be standard for what the penalties or discipline may be addressed for each case that comes to them. Justifiers will make all decisions on each matter, whether it's assign disciplinary classes to attend in order to watch a video, or assigning community service, or given an assigned prison jail sentence to perform. The one that is facing the matter of what is at hand is to be decided by the jury. You see, the justifiers will handle all simple complaints to be decided on from the public. Like if a person had made a purchase or had a service done by another person or business, if the service wasn't acceptable for what was decided when you had agreed for the service or the product that was received, we will use an example of a service from a local contractor that did a remodeling job for someone. A week later, the person or homeowner that had the remodeling done sees in the living room ceiling what looks like a water leak, and it's covering a 6-foot area in the ceiling. You call the one that remodeled a couple bedrooms upstairs and remodeled the upstairs bathroom, and they were paid for a job well done and accepted by the owner. But a week later, you have a situation of a water leak and want it fixed or taken care of by the one who did the service. The contractor tells the homeowner that his service was fulfilled and there is nothing that will be done. So the homeowner goes to the post office and to a computerized communication hub and scans his or her assigned identity chip to the device and types out a complaint with addressing the name of the business and the contractor name in a brief statement stating the situation. Then it's printed and signed. Then it's placed in the complaints and suggestions box. The next day, one of the A-Service justifiers contact you by message saying if you take a picture of the water damage and send it to them to their number, then tell them, if they haven't already, to get a plumber to fix the leak and send a copy of the repair to the same number, and patiently stand by until we figure out what needs to be done. Since there was a problem within the first 3 months or 84 days, the service has been done. The contractor or the one that provided the service has to guarantee their work or service by government standards. The A-Service Justifier's office calls the contractor and explains that he or she has to stand behind their work that they administered through the business for a minimum of 3 months by government standards. The 2 different justifier teams of 5 people each will be annotated in the system for every order drawn up, and the 5-panel justifier team will have the protocol of disciplinary actions or to resolve each situation that is presented to them. When an action is to be addressed, there will be a standard set form placed in the person's record under law and order, which will be permanent for that record. This will also show for a business and will stay active in the A-Service Ace Spades Justifier's office for every situation that comes to them, with all justifiers on the correction order form of what is generated for each person who has a situation. Ace Services Justifiers Department had decided for the damage or the problem to be taken care of within 3 months and had it addressed in each party's record under simple complaints in law and order, and pop-up message on the person's main page when logged in to let the individual know. Any action that is written up with all parties involved will have action sheet added to their records to show whatever action pending in red. There is a double check system where there will be another team of 5 justifiers to decide for the same matter that was decided for the justice to be performed. The second team won't know what the actions were decided from the first team of justifiers, but will have all the notes and research info and data for each case. Now back to the car scratch. The local justifiers will contact and order the individual that came to the door and had harassed you to pay the damage done to the car, and would have 2 charges placed against him or her. For one, this will be considered unintentional stalking, and the damage to the property will be another crime, and that is considered assault since it was directed towards you. This discipline for the first charge of unintentional stalking through A-Services will have the individual within the offense come to the A-Service Ace of Spades department within the county to watch an hour-long video. On the matter of unintentional stalking, on why in the different situations that are considered wrong to do within society. The video will tell of other offenses of the same nature and how it affects the individual for increased discipline for each situation if it shall happen again. Also, you will have to pass a test over the video with a 70% or better. If you don't pass the test, you will have to come back another day to watch and take the test over and over until you have a passing grade. You will only have 1 month, 28 days to react to the time of receiving the notification to fulfill your commitment to watch the assigned videos for simple misdemeanors within the government. If you choose not to serve your commitment in the time allotted, the police will locate you wherever you are and place you in jail for 2 days with no excuses of getting out of it. But at least you won't have to watch the video if you do the time. If you're unable to read or comprehend the test, you may be tasked to watch another 4 videos decided by the A-Service justifiers. It will be up to the justifiers for each person's commitment to serve. On the second offense of assault, where it's a little more serious, where the individual will learn about and watch an hour-long video on what is considered an assault and why it is not tolerated in our society, along with what will happen if you shall get a second and a third offense of the same in nature. He or she will have to pass a test over the video. And the second added discipline to be granted or decided by the justifiers for the act of doing damage to one property in an attempt of acting out revenge is to serve 100 paid hours at $10 an hour of community service within 16 weekends with a start date and a location to show up at. Community service may consist of mowing, weeding grass, or either by riding mower or push mower, sweeping, gardening, collecting trash, painting, gathering branches, and of any job that does not need technical knowledge or of a degree. What the community workers that are ordered to serve will not be required to do, even if they're qualified, is to do technical work like electrical, construction, plumbing, mechanical, secretarial, or be able to drive any vehicle that requires a license. Why was the person charged with vandalism versus assault? It's because he had the charge of unintentional stalking that shows his anger, and damage shows on his act of violence, which is also an assault towards that person. All disciplinary actions to be fulfilled must be logged into the A-Services database under corrections of your law and order record. There will be a login button that will monitor any activity done for whatever is to be performed, like watching videos or serving community service hours. There will be a page in a file of your site that will show what directed to perform by law by any participant of corrected actions, and this will be found in the law and order section of each individual site. There will be a login button to select for each different discipline procedure to be completed. So for watching a video address from a service justifiers department, you will automatically get paid 2 hours for the class of $10 an hour. If you were to watch a video on sexual harassment, you would log into the site and go to the law and order section and click in and find the description of the topic, which will be listed and logged in by selecting the login button. Then you can watch the video and you can take the test and achieve a 70%. If you are then granted free of commitments from the government when all actions are performed on the action pending in red in your records that are set up by the justifiers. When the action in your file changes from red to gray, it means that there is no more worry and the actions because they have been resolved. You forgot to sign out after taking the test, but within the system there will be a timer set for the announcements to automatically log you out in the system after 2 hours. Now, the person that supposedly placed a long scratch on your car where you used the A-Service action of disputes and suggestion service that is available to all in the world. You assume your situation was handled and taken care of by the justifiers of Ace Services, Ace of Spades department. The guy is irate about the whole situation, and he feels the only way he can find justice is to go back to the place of the one who sold him the car and settle his problem with them. Now he's at the door of the one who turned him in to the law and bangs on the door. The owner comes to the door and starts to open the door, and the guy pushes the door open, and the homeowner falls from the sudden push, and then gets up right away and sees the guy pull a revolver out from behind his back. The homeowner runs to their bedroom in the house, to the kitchen, and closes the door to the bedroom and goes to the nightstand and gets his 9mm handgun, and then threatens the person from the other side of the door that you have a gun and will use it if you don't leave. The guy ignores what was said and breaks the bedroom door, and at that time, the homeowner has the right to shoot the individual anywhere from the waist and lower on the body, but not authorized to kill the individual due to the fact that he or she did not fire their weapon. If the person had fired or opened fire, you would have the right to kill the individual for self-defense, and it would be clear of murder because it was an act of defense. Now, you're saying, what if I don't have a weapon and this happens? Well, let's say the homeowner has their phone with them and then runs to the basement where they have a metal door for a wine cellar, and now inside the wine cellar room with the door locked, all you have to do is on the screen of your phone, there is an option of a fingerprint identification. And all you have to do is hold your thumb or fingerprint for 7 seconds, and there will be an alarm or a loud siren type sound that you can authorize it with a voice command or by answering the question at hand on the phone that says, "Is this an emergency?" Where you say yes or select yes. If you accidentally activated the alarm, all you would have to do is select the no or say no. This is not an emergency, and nothing will happen. Only answering the question with a yes will activate the system automatically. Allow one ambulance, one police officer, and a fire truck crew to the scene. This will all happen by using triangulation of your phone to where you're located on Earth by cell towers and satellites to know where your location is at to the nearest address. The action from the person's activating the help action on the phone that is presented. This will be easily accessible because all 3 response teams are activated on the emergency at hand, also having a list of all that are responded by the Ace Services system of the local, where it will show a contact name and number to know who's with each response team. Realize after the alert comes in, the paramedic passenger can try and call the number that shows for the emergency on the display in the vehicle to find out what to expect when they show up and maybe call for more help to the scene. Now, you hope that your metal door is strong enough to keep the intruder out until the police show. But let's say the intruder doesn't have a gun and you do. You're not authorized to kill the individual, even if he or she is on your property, but will be decided by court if the homeowner shoots the individual in the leg because you were fearful for the individual that was coming at you on your property while telling the individual to leave or stop. If you shoot someone on your property and they don't have a weapon, you may be subject to go to what the court feels is adequate for the crime done. It could be a 20-year sentence if a life is taken, or 7 years if you shoot and wound it. This will be an assault on the victim, and if you can't prove your case in front of a jury, you may get 7 years for causing harm or action harm on the trespasser when there are other ways to handle the situation. But just like celebrities and famous people out there in the world, we will have their main phone contact line for the people of the world to use if like. People may want to invest in a second line for privacy. So for this reason, if any feel they need to get a second line to use within the A Services system, they will be authorized to do so. It will function accordingly within the A Services system by keeping track of all the operating data of a second line as well. The number will be added to your chip identity in your files to be assigned to each person that wishes to have a second line in the world. No one will know your new number unless you call that individual from the phone or give him or her your number, where it will be kept from the public's access to view. Or you can have it to where the number won't show for the phone number, but still lists the name of the caller for security purposes. But when the system of A Services will be able to access your number if needed, so it will have to be added to the A Services database. One thing I would like to mention is that you will not have to log into any site with a password anymore. Your chip will be encrypted to where only the individual that have access to any site with security of the individual's information in the completion of the world order. All separate websites that require access will be able to adapt to the new system for all. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Amazon, PayPal, Venmo, and any other established site that may retain information on you. All the people of the world will have to do is in the A Services personal homepage that all will be granted for access to your files because of the master chip that they hold to allow access. On your main page, after you authorize your access in your system, you may place whatever apps you like to have for your accessibility to interact with within the world however the individual wishes. Within the menu you select, you have an authorized listing of all apps that may be selected. Any sites that are not in the A Service system but are accessed through the internet is of an unsecured line will not affect your files of encryption, but it will be considered not secure on the credibility by why it is not authorized to operate by the government standards.